I don't make it back, I want him to know I tried.
The newest spin-off of the world of The Walking Dead, namely Daryl Dixon, is also expected to start airing soon. In this video, this character has a lot of popularity, and without a doubt, those who have watched the Walking Dead series are eager to watch this spin-off because it is related to the ongoing story and the search for Rick, who has gone missing. Here, we want to go over the significant events that have occurred in the past few years and in this season that the Walking Dead series had, so that you have some background in your mind and you can watch the new series more easily. But before we start this video, please give it a like. Let's move on to Daryl and his events. Norman, playing the role of Daryl, really ties everything together and transforms him into one of the most intriguing characters in the Walking Dead series and even in all the zombie-themed series. In the events, he comes from Georgia, a place where he was part of a very poor family with no access to proper water, electricity, or the internet, and had nothing in his early life. He also has a brother named Meryl, who they both grew up together and are subject to their father's abuse. Daryl's character is one of those who have had a tough life. He has a lot of unfulfilled dreams, never had a pet, never saw Santa Claus, and in general, he's completely independent and lonely character. He also has a brother who is somewhat hot-tempered and tough compared to his actions and deeds. But Daryl always sticks with me on this journey because he had suffered significant emotional blows during his childhood, and this is how he experiences a special sense of security when he is with his brother. A week after the outbreak of this epidemic in a place where he's showing me Daryl, he enters Atlanta and gets to know Meryl, his brother. It's there that they handcuff him to the roof of a building. This path to finding Meryl and the deeds he does for him makes Daryl start growing and getting on the main path. Here, when he confronts Rick and realizes what has happened to his brother, he trusts someone other than his brother for the first time and enters a path that is completely different from his past life. The story continues when they reach Atlanta to find Meryl and discover that his hand has been served. They think something bad has happened to him or he's dead, and this is where Daryl feels alone twice. He somewhat returns to his past character when Carol's daughter gets lost and they are looking for Sophia. She uses all her skills to find her and they eventually find her in the barn and she becomes quite ferocious. He was one of the characters who always looked at everything a bit differently and could easily use his past experience to understand events that others couldn't see, like what happened with Shane, Rick's close friend. The betrayal he was carrying out, and Daryl had clearly noticed it. Besides that, Daryl was one of those characters who realized what had happened, and the death of his character is one of the vital points that makes Daryl completely find himself. After this event and the words Rick says to Daryl, it changes the whole storyline and Daryl finds his stability. From this point in the story, Daryl can truly look at this new group as a family. He doesn't shoulder all the responsibilities he has on his own and becomes Rick's right-hand man, or we can say his brother. The relationship between Rick and Daryl is one of the strengths of this series. It's the place that truly makes you want to follow this series. I personally followed it because of these two characters, and an interesting point is that even before the disease itself was broadcast, Rick was deputy sheriff who was always involved with criminals. Alongside him, we had Carl, who himself was not a negative or villainous character. Before the disease outbreak, the world was in turmoil, entangled with drugs and various criminal activities. In this way, two individuals with no apparent similarities could come together in a world overrun by zombies, become a part of a team, and become close brothers. As we progress along this path, each step makes the character of Daryl more complete and matured, and alongside him, we see Rick. As the story unfolds, the losses that occur and the unfortunate events that happen to him continuously make him more ruthless and lead him towards greater violence. One of the characters that causes Rick to return to his original path twice is Daryl himself, which helps him discover his true self. Everyone had a good path forward until the governor and, on the other hand, Daryl's brother are found. When we see the governor and where Daryl's brother realizes his presence, this is where he begins to question his loyalty and puts their initial emotional connection to each other on the line. When they face each other in the confrontation that followed the governor's arrival, we see that those initial bonds they had with each other take shape and they stand together in this struggle. When they escape from these confrontations and reintegrate into the group, Daryl doesn't want to be associated with them because of his troubled past. Here we see that the two of them end up on a two-person path. One of the key points that allows Daryl to set aside his past and get involved in a new story is when his brother dies. His sacrifice leads to Daryl becoming more complete, leaving his past behind and becoming a new leader in a place where Rick is trying to control his own family in the face of past events, like finding food and, on the other hand, gathering the group together. When the governor attacks the prison, Daryl and Boast escape together and move along the path. This is where Daryl experiences those old emotional blows twice, but the character accompanying him, Boast, helps him move past his past and find a new hope. They also develop a unique relationship with each other, and we later see that they join a local group called the Claimers and take Daryl away from Boast. They steal and take him away, leaving Daryl alone, an event that has happened to him several times on this path. He comes into contact with a new group called the Claimer in the rhythm of the path he is on, a group looking for a character named Rick, and our character has become so mature that he prefers to let them take him instead of fighting and take revenge on them. The event that happens here is that Rick attacks and kills the group, and a very important event in Daryl's life is happening shortly afterward. His relationship with Rick is broken and he receives a new emotional blow. After the death of Boast, we see this blow coming more severe and profound for him. After confrontation with Cannibal and the events that follow, we reach the city of Alexandria, where we see that everything is somewhat back to normal, and the houses they have built there and a life away from zombies. And here is exactly where Daryl cannot fit in because he has never had such a proper life in a nice house. He is not like the other characters and he goes into the woods pursuing the activities he used to do. He is the first one to realize that if they want to move forward in this path, the old character they have must go and they become weaker and weaker. The path that Rick and the other group members are on, they are trying to find better conditions there to have a slightly better life, but they also know that without fighting they won't get anywhere, and there is always a bigger problem after overcoming one problem. This is where we meet a character named Negan, and his arrival causes some of the main characters in the path to turn against each other, one of them being Abraham and the other being one of them is Glenn. Glenn's death is the result of his strong conscience, which always stayed on his moral compass, because if he hadn't spared Negan a punch in the face, such an event would never have happened to him. Negan, after realizing that Daryl has the potential to join his group and is a proud person, tries to get him on his side since Negan doesn't know this character, and we know him well. This action he takes are not 1% of what his father did during his childhood. That's why his character never changes. Another likable aspect in the series is when Negan asks his name and expects him to say, "I'm a Negan too." A point to mention here is that the character Daryl we're looking at in the comics is a character named Dwight, who is very similar to Daryl in the comics, being a motorcyclist and having a crossbow, but they have many differences, and when these two characters face each other in the series, it's one of the interesting points. The character Daryl we know is very different from Dwight we've seen. Even when they have fight with Negan, we see that after they defeat Negan, Daryl and Maggie are looking for revenge, and the conflicts that arises are because they let Negan leave. Rick's behavior here is clearly aimed at finding a new redemption from his long history of killing people, allowing new opportunities to emerge. The conflicts between Rick and Daryl continue in season 9 and we see new conflicts between them. But as time passes, they become friends, and this is the last place we see Rick in the series. After a seemingly fatal incident for Rick, this is where Daryl starts looking for his body. Everywhere he searches, he realizes there is no sign of him. And that's where we meet a group called the Commonwealth. Here, he introduces a character named Lydia, who is the leader of this group, and the special connection between them leads Daryl to show a somewhat paternal side of himself. The main reason for this is that both of them were rejected by their families, and Daryl completely understands her. During the events that happen, Daryl returns twice, and this is where he helps his group deal with this new enemy or new threats and engage in a battle. In this battle, his relationship with Negan becomes very strong, and this is how we see two characters becoming important in the war we have in the series. On this journey, when the other characters like Michonne or Rick are not found, Daryl becomes a father figure for Judith and, on the other hand, for RJ. Now you might ask, who is RJ? He is their child. Where have Michonne and Rick gone? Michonne has gone to find Rick. But is Rick still alive? During the events, Rick is lying by the riverside and is still alive, and a helicopter arrives to find him and takes him away. The last moment Daryl has in The Walking Dead is where he enters with Carol, and their special bond is shown once again for the last time. From here, Daryl gets on his motorcycle and leads towards the sunset, starting his new mission, which is finding Rick and Michonne, who haven't been heard from for a long time. He goes to find them. The new pass he is on takes us to France, where the original of the virus also started. Of course, in the images he shows us at the end, Rick is shown to be somewhat, and there is a boat there, and it seems that he also entered France. This is the past that we are going to see in the upcoming spin-offs, and we are going to watch the events from now on in the series. It leads to various conflicts that will complete the character of Daryl and create a good redemption for him. Maybe in the end, he will reach Rick and show us where they are now. In general, these are the pieces of information you need to know before watching the new spin-off. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the movie review channel. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!